I never fancied walking much, but the idea have always been sort of interesting to me. Therefore, in this video, I will try to build a city, a metropolis, if you will, without cars, which is not typical for a city. In the recent years, the EU have been making moves, banning certain combustion engines in major cities for the future, in favor of electric engines, bikes, and the occasional walks. We don't have the option of using electric cars only in Cities Skylines 2, at least not right now, so we'll just ban them all. But what would a city in Cities Skylines 2 look like with no cars on the streets? Welcome to Walkington. We begin the city with just a small road and big dreams. Though we have to keep that road, let's not count the road as a part of the city, let's instead count it as the law. The road is the law. Also, I need the road for my perfect, fully thought through economic scheme that I'm going to pull on my citizens later on. To create this city, we can only use pedestrian streets. We don't want people driving around in their disgusting vehicles. Not in this city, no. That is, of course, apart from the service vehicles and the delivery trucks. Apparently, people don't hate combustion engines enough to go down on luxuries such as electricity or even shops. I had to build a place for people to live, and I went with grids. I added some residential and some commercial. People needed their gas station Doritos. Ultimately, I gave them some industrial as well, because I guess they did need a place to work, so they could afford their chips. The basics were now in place. The city had water, it had sewage management, we had electricity. Now all we could do was wait for people to move to the jewel of a city that this would become. I initially saw this challenge done by Cami, and I wanted to give it my take. Go check out his video afterwards as well. People slowly started arriving, and soon we had our first houses in the city. Actually more houses than we had citizens, but then again they would have to park their cars all the way down at the roadside and then do the walk of fame to their houses for about a mile. The city started to sprawl, and soon enough we hit the first milestone and the city was growing. 45 citizens. And now all of a sudden we had to account for people's health as well and taking care of their garbage. That sounds mighty expensive if you ask me. And it was not only the citizens that were excited about the new garbage dump, even wildlife had to come and check out the majestic location for themselves. Ultimately, I decided to give them a clinic. I also needed the experience points anyway for growing the city, so why not? But it was an expensive luxury, and I'm not actually even sure that the ambulances would be allowed on the streets. Apparently taxis were. So I'm guessing an ambulance would be some form of service vehicle as well. This city was becoming so popular at this stage that even a pop star moved here and attracted some fans as well, which led the city to become a small village. As a small village with almost 300 people now, the roadside parking was getting a little bit cramped. And that's when I got the brilliant idea to run a parking scheme in the city. People were not allowed to bring their cars into the city unless they drove a taxi, of course. But now they could also pay to have their car parked in the luxurious car parks right outside the city for only 10 credits. And to my surprise, people opted for this solution. As the city grew bigger, we had to extend the law a bit. The distances people had to walk from their cars to their houses was getting unreasonable, even for my good conscience. And with people using my parking spots that effectively, it made me hungry for more. Could this be a reliable income source for the city? Turned out people discovered a loophole with my parking scheme. If they stayed on the side of the road with their cars, they would not have to pay for parking. But they didn't outbest me that well. I still had a few tricks up my sleeves. Wide sidewalks, which made parking impossible. They would now have to park in my parking spots and pay for it. Soon enough, we were seeing more and more people choosing the option of paid parking, simply because they had no other option. And I even had to extend some of my parking areas, and we built a new one that could hold 321 parking spots at 10 credits apiece. Look at the income from the parking spots. Beautiful. Amongst all the positivity, a disaster struck. A large fire broke out during a heavy rainstorm and claimed the lives of 4 houses. Maybe I should get them a fire station at this point. But that means more money out of the bank. I think it's time to say something for something. I started by turning up the parking fee with 1 credit. Actually, make it 3, because the city was growing so rapidly that I had to account for schools, for police, for more electricity, and of course the fire station as well, which was expensive. Really expensive. The raised prices for my parking spots did not budge the popularity one bit. People were still very interested in parking there, even to the point where they created a massive traffic jam that even the police would not interfere with. But then again, what could they do? People had to park somewhere. They were not allowed to park on the side of the road. They had to use the parking spots. Genius. I wonder how much we can turn up the prices for the parking in this city, and if people would still use it by then. What about 20 credits? Would that change people's minds? Maximum price, and people would still use the spots. That's profit. As time went on, people did start to complain a bit about the rent. Apparently, it was too high or whatever. I guess it's somewhat reasonable. Not only do they pay to live in a perfect carless utopia, but they also had to pay rent for their car in the perfectly designed car parks. I am feeling a little bit generous and sorry for them, however. I'll lower the taxes just a bit, only a little bit. The city is not making money anyway, but what is a little more in the red than we already are? Apparently a city where people can only walk is a major crime hub. People downtown were afraid of going out at night. Good thing we can upgrade buildings in this game. I had to upgrade the garage at the police station for more police cars, because police cars can drive on the streets. My parking scheme looked perfect at this point. Kinda like an amusement park during the peak season in the summer. Though the only amusement here is the joy of walking 2 miles to your house, but it's not like I'm forcing them. Well, that is actually exactly what I'm doing. And the best part is, there is virtually nothing they can do about the situation. They can only accept the fate that has been put in front of them and pay an immense amount of money each year just to park their car, to then walk 2 miles to their house, out to shop, and if they work in the industry section, you bet they're walking about 4 miles to work every day. I think it's time we gaze over this majestic city, this perfectly designed carless utopia. The people are happy here, and there is nothing that they don't have at least the basics of at this point. The city might be small, it might not be a metropolis per se, but in the minds of the citizens, nothing is more perfect. Maybe except for the fact that the crime rate is high. They pay 50 credits every time they have to park their car. They live about 2 miles from that parking spot where they actually park their car. On top of that, they have to walk everywhere unless they want to pay for a taxi. No wonder they think the rent is high with all that extra payment. I wish I could ban the taxis. It would make it more miserable for the citizens. But then again, that might also just cross the line into cruelty completely. But what did we learn in this video? That people likes to walk. People will walk 2 miles to their home if they have to. They would pay an immense amount of money for a parking spot because they were forced to. And they would be happy to walk to work if that was the only option. With that, we can answer the simple question. Is it possible to build a city in Cities Skylines 2 where people can only walk? Well, yes, sort of. Cars will still drive here, but again, the rules are there to be broken. I might be the almighty mayor god of the city, but when it comes down to it, I can only control people so much. Apparently luxuries were just more important. Let's just hope they used electric vehicles at least. All jokes aside, could I keep this city going? Probably. Would I have to extend my car hotels to eternity? Probably. And would I have to make a better road layout? I'm thinking parallel one-way roads? Probably. But thank you ever so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed the video, why not give it a like? That will help me out tremendously. Also, if you're new, consider subscribing. It's free and you'll get my videos straight to your sub feed. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.